The OnePlus 7T is a step up from the OnePlus 7, but to some, it can still be a step down from the OnePlus 7 Pro. I've been using the OnePlus 7 Pro for a really long time before switching over to this newer model, and so far it's been a month since I made the switch. Now OnePlus did send me the 7T, but they didn't pay me to praise them or make a positive review. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I liked and didn't like about this new flagship. Let's start it off with all the new changes. The design is definitely the most drastic change. It's got a huge ass camera on the back with a bump. If the OnePlus logo wasn't there, I couldn't tell you if it was a Motorola or OnePlus phone. Kind of a shocker that it looks like this, considering that the previous 3-camera module on the OnePlus 7 or 7 Pro looked a lot cleaner and less intrusive. I'm not sure what the deal is with the few phone companies this year creating crazy looking camera designs on the back. At least the 7T Pro doesn't have that issue, but you couldn't purchase it anyways if you're in the US, which is a bummer. I'm not sure if this will change in the future, but for now the 7T is your only option if you live in the States. It still feels nice to hold with the matte glass back and curved back edges, but it still feels slippery and the glass back is really fragile. I even managed to scratch it a good amount and I never dropped it once, so a case is definitely a must. I love the new color options. Honestly, the frosted silver model looks a lot cooler than the glacier blue, even though I don't own it, but I still really enjoy the new blue color. It's a lighter shade of blue when compared to the OnePlus 7 Pro, but it still changes from light to dark under different types of lighting. It gives the phone a more subtle and professional look. It's also got a smaller alert slider, which makes changing the volume profiles feel a lot better. It has a way bigger front speaker grille, which almost fills up the entire top edge, and let me tell you, this thing gets loud. Even louder than the 7 Pro. Combine that with the second speaker at the bottom and you still got yourself a wonderful loud front-facing speaker. Before I move on to the juicy part, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. This website is a great way to learn about a broad range of interesting topics. There are more than 25,000 classes to join and learn about something new. Topics covered include content for creators, photography, business, technology, etc. More specifically, if you're starting a YouTube channel, they have great tutorials for lighting, cinematography, tutorials for Adobe Premiere, After Effects, and more. Or maybe you're trying to start a business and need some advice from successful entrepreneurs. They have that. Music production, mobile development, web development, marketing, writing, graphic design, you name it, they have it. Personally, I signed up for a color grading course to improve my colors within my videos, a Python course, a few entrepreneurship classes, and a productivity class to better organize my busy schedule. Their premium membership, which gives you unlimited access to all of their classes and communities, isn't even that expensive. Getting their annual subscription is less than $10 a month, and the best part is that when you first sign up, Skillshare will give you a 2-month free trial. So give Skillshare a try, especially if you want to learn a few new things in 2019. When turning on the screen of the 7T, you'll notice that it's still got a water drop notch. There are a few people out there who aren't too happy about this because it seems like a step back from the notchless display. It personally didn't bother me. It's not as drastic as the iPhones or as large as the S10 Plus's hole punch. Plus they managed to make it a bit smaller than the one found on the OnePlus 6T. The 7T is also a lot more comfortable to hold than the 7 Pro since the display is a bit smaller at 6.55 inches. It's small enough to use with one hand, but big enough to enjoy a long YouTube or Netflix video. Plus it's got a flat display with barely any curvage, making the phone easy to grip, and I never experienced any accidental taps from my palm. It's still AMOLED, which looks excellent when you enable dark mode, and even though the resolution is 1080p, somehow it's still not that noticeable. OnePlus even made the display brighter. They say it exceeds 1000 nits at max brightness, which is perfect for using the phone in direct sunlight. And it's got a new internal luminescent material which makes it easier to use at night since it blocks 40% of blue light. Still, the screen isn't perfect. It has uneven illumination at low brightness, which is visible to the eye. The automatic brightness isn't that great since it usually makes the screen too bright or too dim. And for some, a 1080p display still doesn't seem that attractive, especially since you can just purchase the OnePlus 7 Pro for $70 more and obtain that Quad HD upgrade. The performance of the display is really amazing since OnePlus yet again made it 90Hz, and with this implementation, the phone just feels a lot more fluid. Combine that with the newer Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset and 8GB of RAM, and this is the fastest phone you can purchase right now aside from the OnePlus 7T Pro. Everything from loading apps, scrolling through social feeds, transitions and animations, all just fly on this phone. Even playing games on this thing is spectacular. I play Call of Duty Mobile with max settings enabled for hours on end, and I never once experienced a hint of lag. I've got to hand it to OnePlus, they've done it again. Performance is no joke on this phone. Even unlocking the phone with the in-display fingerprint sensor has gotten a bit faster. I already found the OnePlus 7 Pro to have the fastest unlocking speeds, but the 7T still manages to unlock slightly quicker. It's not that noticeable, but you can see the difference side by side. Even Face Unlock on the OnePlus 7T unlocks somewhat faster than the 7 Pro since it doesn't have to pop out the camera just to see your face. So everything on the performance side of this phone has gotten slightly faster. As for the battery performance, it's not as impressive. It's not bad at all, but it won't last as long as the Galaxy S10, Note 10, or iPhone 11 Pro. With a 3800 mAh capacity, I would usually get around 5 hours of screen on time, maybe 6 if I'm lightly using the phone, but usually I'm doing various aggressive tasks throughout the day, such as using Google Maps navigation to drive to school, having Spotify play music in the background, having Bluetooth enabled at all times for my smartwatch, and constantly scrolling through social media, watching YouTube videos, and sending messages. However, even though the battery life is average, I can still rely on Warp Charge to juice the phone back up quickly. And you know how OnePlus's fast charger was already really fast on the OnePlus 7 Pro? Well, now it's even faster. They give it a new name called Warp Charge 30T, and according to them, it's 18% faster and can charge the 7T to 70% in just half an hour. Tested it myself, and it's true. They were able to do this by revamping the battery structure of the 7T and optimizing the charging algorithm. The 7T is also the first phone to ship out with Android 10 out of the box. Of course, it comes layered with OxygenOS 10.0. There aren't too many new exclusive changes provided by OnePlus in this update, but the ones that I did really enjoy include the system settings being compressed down to display more menus at once. There's a new menu called Customization, which lets me change the look of the interface quickly. I can change the clock style, the ambient display, fingerprint animation, accent color, the overall tone from light to dark, button shapes, and more. You could already do all these things in the previous versions of OxygenOS. It's just nice to have all these options in one place now. Reading mode can be turned on indefinitely without needing to open any specific reading app. OnePlus's volume panel, when it's expanded, looks way better than what the Pixel 4 provides. I also love that the dark theme has been expanded to the notifications and most OnePlus apps. The OnePlus launcher now has a new option to change the layout to show all of your apps on the home screen instead of in an app drawer, and you can slide outwards with 2 fingers on the home screen to enter any of your hidden apps. And lastly, the new navigation gestures feel much more intuitive than the previous version. You can swipe inward from the left or right side of the screen to go back, swipe left or right on the bottom bar to switch between your recent apps, swipe diagonally from either side of the bottom corner to bring up Google Assistant, and use the same gestures as before to go home or open the Recents menu. It's exactly like Google's navigation gestures within Android 10. I just wish they would have provided the extra option to go back to their previous controls like on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Overall, I'm still in love with OxygenOS. You can't beat an interface that has such a familiar look to stock Android, yet still provides small changes or exclusive features that are very useful. If you want to see a video where I take a deeper look at OxygenOS running Android 10, click that eye in the top right corner. When it comes to the rear cameras, even though the design on the back has drastically changed, I didn't see much of a difference in the software side. Just like on the OnePlus 7 Pro, it's got the main lens, telephoto, and an ultra wide. The perfect combination to capture any scene that's in front of you. The telephoto lens also has a smaller optical zoom at just 2x, while the 7 Pro comes with 3. And it has a new super macro mode which I really enjoyed using. It basically lets me focus on anything as close as an inch away. It worked really well on the wide angle lens. Regular pictures throughout the day generally provide the same consistent results as the 7 Pro, great detail, sharpness, and color reproduction. The only thing is that images are still a hit or miss situations. Sometimes the pictures come out looking amazing, while other times certain objects within a photo will look muddy, over smoothened, and it'll have bad dynamic range. Night shots are the same way. There will be times where you'll want to retake the photo because the post-processing will do an awful job. However, if you use nightscape mode, you'll have an easier time capturing a dark scene, as I do find it to be an improvement from when I last used it on the OnePlus 7 Pro. It brightens scenes tremendously and gets the job done. So the cameras on the back aren't bad at all. They're fine, especially for the average Joe. It just won't provide the same results as a Pixel or an iPhone would. From my experience with the OnePlus 7T, it's a fantastic phone. I didn't doubt that it would be, but there are still a few compromises that might sway people from getting this device. Like I said before, it's got a small notch at the top. The camera back design isn't that attractive. It's got a 1080p display still. It's still not officially IP rated to resist any water or dust. It has no wireless charging, headphone jack, expandable storage. It only has the model option of 8GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage, while the 7 Pro can be upgraded to 12GB of RAM and up to 256GB of internal storage. Lastly, it costs $600, which isn't a bad deal at all, but when you stop to consider that the OnePlus 7 Pro is just $70 more, it's hard not to choose that device over this one. Honestly, anyone who purchases the OnePlus 7T will be a happy customer. I definitely was. It's a great phone that is slightly better than the 7 Pro in most aspects, and a lot better than the OnePlus 7. Just a quick recap, it's got a brighter screen, faster charging method, better haptic feedback, a better feel in hand, a louder speaker, and slightly better performance all around. The only thing that you'll be missing from the OnePlus 7 Pro is a better display and a cool pop-up camera to show your friends what their phone can't do. If it were up to me, I'd still choose the 7 Pro over this device since the price difference isn't that big, but the OnePlus 7T still gets a huge thumbs up from me. Think of it as what the OnePlus 6T would be if it were released in 2019. Either way, that's my review of the OnePlus 7T. Let me know what you think about this device. Get subscribed with the notification bell turned on so you don't miss out on any future Android videos. Drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Kapow!